My name is Ed, I'm 17 years old from the UK, and in this video we're going to be talking about the side hustle which recently became my full-time income. And it means when I leave school in a few months, I won't have to go and work a job, I don't have to apply for a job, I can just live off of this, what began as a side hustle, whereas now it's my full-time income. And I'm just going to be able to live off this when I leave school, and it basically allows me to live wherever I want and essentially do whatever I want. I'm not a multi-millionaire yet, but I make more than enough money to get by, especially in the UK. I make more than enough money to get by. So it's a really great thing to do, this income, this sort of like side hustle thing. It depends what you want to word it as. You can word it as a side hustle, you can just word it as like an online business. But it all makes sense in a couple of minutes once I get to explaining it. So I'm going to answer a couple of questions first, because a couple of questions you might have. A lot of the time you're probably thinking, oh, he's just going to tell me it's easy. And no, in this video, I'm not going to tell you it's easy. I'm going to tell you the complete truth, how long I've been doing this side hustle for, and how I've actually gotten to this level where it's now my full-time income and I don't have to go and work a job. I'm going to tell you everything step by step what I did from beginning to now, essentially. So we're going to start off around 6 or 7 months ago. It was April last year, and one of my friends online was messaging me because I was doing like a different business model before. I was doing a different type of online income. You might have heard of it. It's just basically where you post TikTok videos and then you just sell products with the TikTok videos, and it's become a very popular thing recently, and that's what I was doing in April 2023. And then my friend messaged me. I was like, I don't really want to do this business model anymore, and then he messaged me and he told me to do this business model, which is completely different to what I was doing before. And well, thanks to him, I'm now doing a lot better than I was about a year ago. And just with this business model alone, I've basically been able to create financial freedom for myself and location freedom. It doesn't tie you down to a certain location. You don't have to be in an office, you don't have to be anywhere, you can just be on your laptop, and that's all you need. Obviously it does help if you have other things as well, but we'll get into that in a minute. So we'll start off 6 months ago. No, it's not 6 months ago now. Last April, I heard of this business model. I didn't really take it too seriously, and it is Etsy print on demand. So the business model which we're talking about today, and which I'm doing, is Etsy print on demand. So it's basically just where you sell products online on Etsy. You create a store on the Etsy platform, and then you just list a bunch of different products onto there. It's a very easy business model to get into. One of the first counterpoints which you're going to have in your head is you're going to think, okay, how much time is it going to take me, number one, and number two, how much money is it going to cost me? And it's going to surprise you with the two answers I'm about to give you. So I can tell you, within my first month of Etsy, I made £400 in revenue, which obviously, okay, £400 isn't great if you want to live off that amount of money, but for a starting point, as a complete beginner, I have no idea about the platform, I made £400 in revenue just off of like 3 or 4 listings. So I only put out about 3 or 4 products, and I was already making £400 in revenue a month. I think my profit margin on that was about 50%. So my first month alone on Etsy, this was around in April, and of course you can look back on my Twitter, I was posting about this. I was posting first month on Etsy, and I remember I posted a tweet and it said first month of Etsy, only up from here, and it was about £415 of revenue within my first month, which of course isn't bad, but I knew it was a very good starting point to already have that little bit of revenue coming in, which is just great. It's such a great motivator as well, and that's one of the greatest things about Etsy. You will get sales straight away. It's not like these other business models which might take you ages to get your first sale. It's a lot more simple. It's not as complicated as any other business model in terms of e-commerce, and that's why it's so easy, and that's how I was able to make £400 of revenue just in my first month alone. Obviously I do quite a lot more than that now. I almost hit 100x of that in December of last year, which was my biggest month of the year. So I almost 100x'd it in a month by the end of the year, which was pretty crazy. Obviously Christmas is a big time, and you can obviously expect a big increase in Christmas time. But anyway, let's get back to the timeline. So in April I did my first month, so April to May, I did £400, and then after that I just started scaling up. I started learning and understanding more about the platform, and I really just started like really figuring out. I started dialing in and making a lot more money. And one of the things I said earlier is how much is it going to cost and how much time is it going to take you. So within my first month alone, I wasn't really putting in too much time. As I said, I only had 4 products on my store, which is quite a low amount of numbers. You'll see Etsy stores with around 10,000 products that they're selling on one Etsy store alone. They might be selling 10,000 or even more products at a time. So for me to only have 4 products is really not a lot. And for me, the actual amount of time which it took me to create those 4 listings and find those 4 products was probably only 2 or 3 hours at most. It was more than likely around 1 or 2 hours that I put into this, because as I said, I wasn't taking this seriously at all. I was doing a different business model before, which was obviously making me a little bit more money at the time, and then I decided to switch to Etsy once I saw the potential. And in that first month alone, I didn't actually spend any money. You might be thinking, to start an online business, you do need a lot of money. Of course, in some things that you're going to do, you're going to need a lot of money to start. So if you want to go start like a car washing or a car dealership, you're going to need a lot of money to start that. But these online businesses, especially on Etsy, you're not going to have to spend money on ads. You don't have to spend money on ads. That's going to surprise a lot of people when I'm saying this. You might think I'm lying. You don't have to spend money on ads. My first month alone, I didn't spend any money on ads because I didn't know what they were. I didn't know how to use them. And I literally was a complete noob. I didn't know what I was doing. And I made the £400, as I said. So I didn't invest anything. All I made was £200 of profit in that month. And I didn't spend anything. I didn't put any money in. All I put was about 4 hours of work in at most, creating those 4 listings. And I already generated a decent amount of money, I guess, for a side hustle. And that's where it began as a side hustle month 1. In months 2, 3, and 4, it really started to scale up as I just started to put more time into it. And one of the things that you're going to ask me, and you're going to be asking in your head, is how much time is it actually going to take me to make a decent amount of money like I am at the moment on the platform? So it does depend, and I do say this to people a lot. I say it is a numbers game. So what does that mean? It's a numbers game. A numbers game basically means the more you do, the more you get out. And it's very simple. On Etsy, it does literally work like that. The more you put into the platform, the more listings that you create, the more products that you sell, the more time that you put in, the more you're going to get out. So I don't really like framing it and saying you only need to work like 2 hours a day or whatever. And if I'm being completely honest, all I do is work basically every day. I have maybe 2 or 3 hours where I'm not working in every single day. And every other hour where I'm not doing something, I'm just working. If I'm at the gym or something, that might be my 2 or 3 hours of the day where I'm not working. And I've probably been working like, I don't know, 12 hours a day very consistently, apart from the times when I'm at school, obviously, 12 to 14 hours a day for the past 8 months that I've been doing this business model, 9 months that I've been doing this business model. But obviously, there's ways to speed it up. I know that I've made a lot of mistakes in my journey, and as long as once you start getting the hang of things, you don't really need to spend the amount of time that I spent on the platform to actually generate like an income from it. Realistically, I don't think it's a good way to frame it and say you only need to work 5 hours a day, or you only need to work 15 hours a day, you only need to work 30 minutes a day, anything like that. I don't think it's a good way to frame it. So if you want to do this business model, the best advice I can give to you is just start somewhere and then figure out how many hours you want to work. Because it's completely up to you. If you find you don't like doing it, then sure, do something else. It's perfectly fine. But if you find that you're really enjoying this business model and you just want to put more time into it because you're actually enjoying it, and then you start reaping the rewards because you're working like 4 or 5 hours a day on this, and then you start making like £100 of revenue a day, £200 of revenue a day, and it starts going upwards from there, you'll notice that as you put more time in, you will reap the rewards much more greatly. But anyway, so that covers the common misconception about time, or you only need to spend 2 hours a day on it. If anyone says you only need to spend 2 hours a day on Etsy, don't listen to them, because they're just telling you. They're trying to make it seem a lot easier than it actually is. Obviously, this business model is very easy compared to other business models which I've done in the past, but you have to put time in. You have to put time in to actually see the results. You don't have to put 10 hours a day in. Sure, if you're putting like 2 hours a day in, you're probably going to see some results, but you're going to see better results if you're working more and you're trying to learn more as well. So, money, it won't really cost you too much. I've maybe spoken to some people who have spent like $300 starting an Etsy store, but you don't need to. It's completely free. Etsy doesn't charge anything to start your store. I think recently actually they started charging about $15 to start a store, but that's obviously not a lot of money. It's not like you're having to invest the thousands in other business models, but so that covers the thing about money. You won't really have to spend too much, but don't expect to spend zero. Don't be caught off when you have to spend $50 to buy a product. Don't worry about that. That will be a very small amount of money that you're going to have to spend. You won't have to spend thousands. How much time will it take? It won't take you a lot of time, and you can choose. It's completely up to you. It's completely up to what you want to do, however you're feeling about the business model, what you're doing for work. Maybe your job takes 12 hours a day. That's fine. Just go home and work a couple of hours on Etsy, and that's it. You don't have to do loads. You don't have to do, or you probably shouldn't do 10 minutes a day, because you won't really see that great results. And yeah, so question number 3, probably the most important question. I've talked to you a little bit about my journey. So I talked about month 1, £400 revenue. I think within 3 months, I scaled up to £5,000 a month in revenue. It might have been more. It might have been 3 or 4 months. I can't remember, but it was around there. It only took me 3 or 4 months to scale up to It took me 3 or 4 months to scale up to £5,000 a month in revenue, and that was in July last year, I believe, July and August last year. I was hitting around £5,000 a month of revenue, and I plateaued there for a little bit, and then stuff started to change in October, where I really started to, October and November, and I really started to scale up and do much bigger numbers, and now I'm in a much better position than I was 6 months ago on Etsy. I'm making quite a lot of money from it, I say that, but anyway, how do I start? So how do you start on Etsy? What do you need to do? The first thing that you need to do, of course, is open your store. It doesn't matter what credentials you use, just use your own or use a friend's who's older than you, because a lot of you people watching might be 16, 15 years old, and you have to be 18 years old to start an Etsy store. However, it's no problem at all to just start it in a parent's name. It's completely legal and it's completely within the terms of service. They can open an account on their behalf for you. You're not breaking any terms of service. So that's perfectly fine. If you have an older person who is above 18 to start your store for you, go for that. It's no problem at all. Once you started your store, then you need to figure out what you want to sell. And there's multiple different ways which you can figure out what to sell. One of the best product research methods is just finding winning products on the platform, products that are already selling on the platform, and sell the exact same products. And that's basically what I do. That's all I've done for the past 7-8 months, is just find winning products on the platform, and then I just sell a similar, or I sell the exact same design on a different product or something like that. So and the business model as well, before I move on too quickly, is print on demand. So with print on demand, I'll explain it very quickly. I did this in another video, so go and watch my previous video. It's about 45 minutes long. I just explained the business model. But basically, print on demand is just where you sell different designs, printed designs, or like cutout designs, wood burning, like on t-shirts, clothing, any sort of clothing, custom mugs, even like night lamps. There's so many different things which you can sell on print on demand, but go watch my previous video because that will explain what the business model is. It'll make a lot more sense to you after you've watched that video. And yeah, so finding out what products to sell, you just look for winning products on the platform, look for products that are already selling a lot, look how many reviews the products have got, and see, oh, it's got 1,000 reviews in the last year. This must be selling at least 3 times a day. And then you can go with that calculation and say, okay, maybe I should sell a similar product to this. Maybe I shouldn't sell this because it's only got 10 reviews in the last year. And so on and so forth. If you want to find out more about product research, then join my Discord and free community in the top link in the description. I go through everything about Etsy there, so you basically 10x your skills. I basically document everything inside of the Discord down below, inside of the group down below, and I just document all of my mistakes that I made so you don't make the same mistakes, and you can basically accelerate your growth on Etsy. And yeah, so after that, you've created a few listings for your store. As long as the listings are good and you're following my advice, which I put in the Discord group down below, then you will make sales within your first few days. I would be very surprised if you go a month on Etsy and you don't make any money at all. I'd be very, very surprised. And please, if that is you, message me because I'll make sure to help you out.